He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. You'd better watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems. You know what I'm saying? Good evening, folks, and welcome to Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason Mink, and, just getting reacquainted with an old friend here. Who's this guy? Well, of course, it could only be Walrus Man, a.k.a. Ponda Baba. That's what they decided to call him later on, but, I'm not buying it as far as I'm concerned. This guy only has one name, and it's not that. So Walrus Man here is a fantastic addition to the Kenner Star Wars action figure line. Started in 1977. The line brought us the first 12 figures, which were essentially the main characters in the film, along with a few ancillaries, stormtroopers, Jawas, Tusken Raiders, and the like. The line proved so successful that the demand for figures was tremendous, and Kenner got to work cranking out some additional characters to keep things going, and this is one of those characters. Now, looks a little bit different than he did in the film, for sure, but that can be forgiven. After all, sometimes Kenner was working with the barest of resources as far as reference material goes. With these aliens in the second wave, you get the sense that they were really making stuff up as they went along. Walrus Man was in a little grouping with Greedo, of course, Snaggletooth, and Hammerhead, and these figures were very distinctively different as far as it goes, because that first wave of Star Wars figures, very earth-tony, when it came right down to it. Lots of beiges, lots of browns, black and white, but these aliens, well, they were something else altogether. They had kind of like a Fisher-Price Adventure People kind of feel to them, to be honest, and, that really worked, because, the characters were absolutes, whereas these guys they were a little more colorful, maybe a little bit more fun, even. And so here he is, Walrus Man, and I'm not really sure where he got this outfit. I suppose picked it up at a discount mart on Tatooine there. But he appears to be, I don't know what this is. Is this is he wearing a wetsuit? Are these his boots? Or, once again, it's very puzzling, I'm not quite sure. But that was part of the whole appeal, figuring out just what these guys were all about, where they fit into the story. And unlike some other characters like Hammerhead, who only had a moment or two of screen time, well, as we all know, Walrus Man met a fairly ignoble fate. So yeah, that is Walrus Man. And, as far as it goes, maybe not the most dynamic of action figures to share with you on the 3-mans for $5 front, but, well, that's who we got going on this week. Okay, so what's new, my friends? It's great to see you. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Happy to be here. Happy to be doing it once again. Woody is here. He's looking pretty good. He insists upon being called King Woody for this episode. He's doing that regal thing. I don't know if I'm going to go along with it or not. Guy has delusions of grandeur, that's for sure. Hope you have a nice beverage on hand. After all, it is Friday, and you deserve it, my friends. So what's in the pile? Well, not only do we have this wonderful enigmatic box from Craig Bond, but we have some Archies to look at as well. Big surprise, huh? Who would have seen that coming? We're going to start off with this. This is the Dark Horse Archie Archives Volume 4. No, I don't have the other 3. Just haven't had the opportunity to pick them up, quite honestly. But when I saw this, I thought I'd take a chance. And there's something very familiar about Archie. Something that I just can't quite put my finger on. Perhaps Riverdale and Tatooine aren't so far away after all. But like I said, this is Volume 4 of the Dark Horse Archives. And this collects
all of the Archie material from Pep Comics number 51 through 53 and Archie Comics 11 through 14 from 1944 and 1945. Now, I got to admit, this isn't an era of Archie that I know a whole lot about, and, well, I can be forgiven for that. After all, most of my Archie knowledge comes from being able to pick up comic books, and these, well, you know, they don't come up often, at least in my pocketbook range. So, did I really say I have a pocketbook? Yes, that's where I keep my dimes and my coffee coupon, apparently. But this is wonderful. It's all in full color, you know. You can tell right from the flyleaf that things are going to be fun, and it's a wild ride for sure. A number of wonderful Archie creators. You get some insight into the character. Early characters you don't see much of anymore, like Archie's dog, Oscar. What happened to him? Well, apparently he peed in the petunias one too many times, and he's out of here now. Here's Archie in The Hunter. And, you know, this stuff, well, it might shake you if all you're familiar with is the 1950s, 1960s, 70s era Archie, because very unpolished compared to that stuff. You know, you look at an image like that and you think, that's supposed to be Veronica? I don't know. But nonetheless, we all have to start somewhere, and this is a wonderful tome. I've cracked it. I read a few stories, but I figure I'll be chipping away at it for a while. I mean, after all, you don't want to rush a story like this. No siree, Bob. Okay, continuing down that Archie front, here's Archie number 63. And you can see things are beginning to tighten up stylistically as far as it goes. The gals, well, they're beginning to resemble each other a little bit more. You know, Archie looking a little bit less like a rodent. You know, he's still got the giant teeth, but, you know, things are starting to balance out a little bit. This is the mirth of a nation. He's America's typical teenager. Sure, because they all have comic books. And, not to mention America's largest selling teenage magazine. Wow, rein in the hype, guys. Sheesh. But this is 52 pages for only 10 cents. And while that was a lot of money back then, certainly worth it. And then here is number 69. Read how Archie treats his women rough. Oh yeah. Uses them once and hangs them up wet. Now, I picked this one up. It is a pour. It's a 0.5 because there's a coupon out, apparently. But for less than $5, I couldn't say no because, you know, I'm sure I'll still get plenty of enjoyment out of it. Absolutely. Hey, Archie, I'm making out my new subjects. What do you think is easiest to take? Why? It's girls, Jughead. Girls. And then here's some later period Archie. This would appear to be some early Dan DiCarlo artwork, if I'm not mistaken. And Betty, well, she seems to have gotten the hang of this whole babysitting thing. Yes, she has, sitting there eating a box of sugar cubes. Does life get any better? I would say nay. And then, wrapping things up, it's Archie's girls, Betty and Veronica. This is number 128. I know why Veronica gave us these camp swimsuits to wear at her beach party. Row! You know what I'm saying? Wooga! Hubba hubba. And there's Midge. Oh, I still love you, Midge, even though you look like Miss Grundy. And Betty, oh, that almost looks like something the Wasp would have worn, you know, in the 1890s. Okay, so what next? Oh, it's a box. Yes, it is, my friends. Now, if you remember in a previous episode, Craig Bond had sent us a box. And what a box it was, or at least what a box it might have been. It was chock full of old comics, had some paperbacks in there. It even had some superhero magnets, from what I understand. But if you saw the episode, well, you realized that things didn't quite work out that way. Apparently, there was a little bit of a switcheroo at the post office. And instead of my comics and books and magnets, I was given 4 English textbooks. So, thanks to the good folks at the post office. But Craig, well, he was undaunted. He decided to carry on. And not only did he get this thing insured, but he put some stickers on it as well. So we know that it hasn't been tampered with. So we're going to cut this thing on open and we're going to see what's inside. Are you excited? I know that I am. Go get an ice cube. We're going to get Stabby Joe out here and we're going to make it happen. Let's do it. And what a box it is, folks. Cutting through protective sticker number 1, cutting through the label, and all right. Oh no, you gotta be kidding me, dude. This is a trade paperback. Boy, I'll tell you what, this sure does look like one of those school books, doesn't it? Wow. Well, hey, that's a great way to flummox me. Nicely done. This is Mind Management, the Mind Management Comprehensive Report 1 of 3, Psychic Warfare and its Effect on the Individual. I'm clearly traumatized, that's right. Includes field reports on you and your misguided paranoia. It's not misguided, it's completely justified, damn it. All right, well, let's get into it then. Much to my relief, there is more than just school books in there. Here comes Daredevil, guest starring Spider-Man. This is the Mighty Marvel collector's item. See the origin of Daredevil and other great adventures. It's a superhero who's really different. Conneaut, Ohio? All right, sure. But this reprints some of those early Daredevil stories, including Daredevil meeting up with Spidey there. How about that? And you get 2 panels per page, and it's sideways. So, you know, they did their best, I reckon. I'm of the opinion that you could have actually put these perfect squares just in the opposite direction, and it would have been just as readable. But, you know, that's just me, I guess. You know, perhaps there were other issues that I'm not aware of. But, yeah, pretty fantastic for sure. Tempted to get my colored pencils out. All right, then we have Mad About Town. You know it. It's one of those classic Mad reprints with a gorgeous painted cover. What a knockout. And this is all the fun, the excitement, and the delicious decadence of opening nights, posh casinos, champagne suppers, and nightclubs. It's Mad About Town. Although what it really is just a bunch of, you know, random strips they hadn't reprinted yet because, you know, that's just how Mad rolled. And we loved them for it. Speaking of which, the rip-off Mad. Truth in advertising, you know, maybe, folks, maybe. If you think you've been squeezed by corrupt politicians, victimized by TV and the movies, conned by Madison Avenue, robbed by big business, wait till you find out how you've been taken for a ride by the culprits who put out the rip-off Mad. Oh yeah, you know it. But how can you go wrong? It's all our favorite creators at the height of their powers, A little bit of Dave Berg for you. That is right. Who doesn't love Dave? And then here's Mad Clowns Around. And that's a beautiful cover. Oh, man. Gotta wonder where this painting is. I hope it's hanging in some eccentric millionaire's mansion. Or hell, actually, I hope it's hanging in some eccentric weirdo who doesn't have a dime's mansion. Here's your ticket to the greatest show on Mirth, written and illustrated by the crown princes of humor and satire. Admit one, sucker. Or admit one, sucker? Don Martin? Irving Mikubu and the Head Shrinkers. I saw them back in 1985. They were amazing. If the characters in Peanuts aged like ordinary people, that's pretty grim. So lots of fantastic stuff in here. Lots of great artwork and stories just waiting to be rediscovered. It's Mad's Clowns Around. Then here's Jughead Jones, Comics Digest. Jughead, it's bad to watch TV lying down, but not the way he's watching it. You see, it all makes sense, doesn't it? Apparently he's watching for a few dollars more. Don't get any ideas there, Jug. And then, hey, look, it's Midge making the scene. Now, she looks pretty apprehensive. Please don't tell Moose that I was on the back cover. And he wasn't. I'll never hear it. Oh, there he is. Okay. Wait, Moose and Little Jinx are hanging out. Oh, that's odd. Less said about that, the better. And then here's Jughead and Archie. Making the scene. All right. Now, see, Midge looks a little more balanced here. A little less terrified. I mean, you know, spot the difference, folks. If you witness domestic abuse, please call the authorities. Or maybe butt out. Maybe it's none of your goddamn business in the first place. I don't know. It's the Mad Frontier. And, oh, wow. Oh, this is cool. Wonderful artwork on the back. And it was this kind of stuff that, you know, really hooked me as a kid, because it was just like the illustrations were of such high quality, you know. It was clear that time had been spent on it. It was clear that thought had gone into it. And, well, I just couldn't look away. Okay, and then there's a big old pile of comic books in here. So fantastic. Thank you, Craig. Does man belong in a zoo? That's the question Kirby's going to pose in Kamandi, the Last Boy on Earth, number 6. And then it's Captain Savage and his Leatherneck Raiders, number 3 no less. 2 against Hydra. This is a cool book because it filled in those little gaps in Marvel continuity. You know, it established organizations like Hydra who would go on to cause so much trouble for superheroes later on. And Captain Sandwich here, I'm not sure how he got out of this one, but, you know, I reckon he did. Comic book went on for another 18 or so issues. Then here's Werewolf by Night number 43. The Trianaman lives, and before his incredible power, Iron Man and the werewolf may die. Oh, yeah. Now, there's an unlikely team-up for sure. Iron Man and the werewolf. But, you know, I reckon if you're any self-respecting kid with a couple Migos, well, you might just act out this adventure yourself the next full moon. And then here's Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. See, eat it there, Captain Sandwich. It's Sergeant Fury, and this is number 22. And this is a Marvel Pop Art production. Now, I only have maybe 1 or 2 of these books that are branded with that. I have Amazing Spider-Man number 28, which has it, and that definitely has a pop art vibe with the black cover. And this is excellent. Don't turn your back on Bull McGivney. Oh, no. Especially if you're like a pork sandwich. Man, Bull, rein it in, buddy. Have a salad. And then here's the most cosmic superhero of them all. It's the new Captain Marvel. And, fighting, what is this, a shirtless Colonel Sanders? I don't know what the hell's going on here. Apparently he found Galactus's little tunic there after some sort of, supervillain key party. This whole thing is mighty dubious. But I always found Captain Marvel fascinating because, as a kid, space was the place. If Sun Ra was to be believed, anyway. And, I never saw any reason to doubt him. Then here's a classic issue. This is The Invaders number 33. Stand ye back, invaders! This hated land must fall, so saith Thor! And I think that Thor had faced off against the invaders in an earlier issue, because I seem to remember there being like a Jack Kirby cover that this appears to emulate. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the old brain's just playing tricks on me. And then how about a glider? Sure, why not? I wish I had a hat like that. Of all the stuff that's come back into vogue over the years, why haven't flight caps and goggles? I'd be sitting here wearing one now. And then how about some Mr. Miracle? This is number 8. And he's actually fighting in the lump's mind. And if he loses, he dies. It's the battle of the id. And then Orion and Calabac are locked in titanic battle. Only the Black Racer can win. The New Gods, number 11. Then here's Deathlock the Demolisher and the Man Who Controlled the World. One of my favorite David Bowie albums. Absolutely, some really good songs on there. Then how about some Howard the Duck? It began as cheap transportation, but it ended in disaster. It is the bus to oblivion, and that's some very striking composition. Here's Amazing Adventures featuring War of the Worlds. And there's Killraven. Put a shirt on, hippie! This isn't acceptable. If I can see one of your nipples, no, it ain't a shirt. You weirdo. And then here's some more War of the Worlds. And, Martians, how much am I bid for the man called Killraven? Slaves of the human squid? Oh, that is distressing. Oh, look at these freak shows down here. Wow, that is absolutely terrifying. Looking forward to reading that. Some more War of the Worlds. Death is the High Overlord. It's like an angry crawfish. New Year's Nightmare in 2019 AD. Yeah, I remember that. Wow, that's why I like old comics, is sometimes you forget stuff that happened just a few years ago. I completely forgot about the New Year's Nightmare, but it's all coming back to me now. What? Bow down before you? No, man. It's bad enough that we let you in here dressed like that as it is. This guy, huh, folks? All right, as far as wonky comics go, Atlas, well, they had their fair share, and that is very well illustrated by this book. It's The Phoenix, number 2. Now, this guy, not really your traditional hero. I get it. I understand what Atlas was going for. They were going for that sort of teen angst, your sort of troubled character a la Peter Parker. But the Phoenix, well, he just doesn't come off like a hero when it comes right down to it. Most of his actions are motivated by self-preservation, knee-jerk reactions, guilt. He's certainly not working in the public interest, but the book did run for 4 issues, so what do I know, huh? I've heard a lot of talk about Atlas Comics being adapted for films, and I don't really see that one being much of a contender next to this. He's born of fury. He's sworn to vengeance. He is the Destructor. And this is a dynamite title, and we've covered this one on Comics for Breakfast. Absolutely. What's it all about? Think troubled teen has a scientist uncle, creates a super soldier serum. Mafia comes for serum, rubs out the uncle. Uncle hides the serum. Rebellious teen takes it, decides to get vengeance and, fight for good. That's it in a nutshell, and this one is definitely much more fun as far as it goes. More of a classic superhero comic, with some really wonderful artwork. I think this is by Steve Ditko, and it's inked by Wally Wood, no less. So how can you go wrong? That's the Destructor, folks. Makes you wonder how some of these titles didn't succeed. And then here's Atlas Comics, Weird Suspense, featuring the Tarantula. And, all right, sure. You're a spider-based hero. You don't want him to look too much like that other guy. So what do? You make him green. You give him great big kissable lips, and you put him in a fuchsia jumpsuit. Looks more like Phyllis Diller on an early 80s talk show than anything else. But, the web queen here is cool. So more like this, Atlas. I think that's where you want to go. And then, hey! Here's my favorite Atlas series. This is Target. The word is out from the mob. Get on Target. Wonderful Dick Giordano artwork right there. And this is a very compelling little book. It starts off as a sort of spy espionage thriller, and by the end morphs into absolute 70s pulp-style superhero-dom. Real wild, crazy stuff. Wonderful Howard Nostran artwork on the inside. Love this book. You know it. And then, perhaps one of the best publications that Atlas produced, this is The Scorpion. And if The Scorpion looks a little familiar to you, well, you're not going crazy. The nice thing about working for Atlas back in the day was if something happened with the company, say it folded after 18 months, you could go and you could take your characters somewhere else. And that's exactly what creator Howard Chaykin did. The Scorpion became Dominic Fortune over at Marvel Comics. If you've ever heard of them, they were a little more successful than Atlas. But this book is wonderful, especially if you like that 1930s style adventure. If you enjoy DC's The Shadow, Mike Kaluta style artwork, well, this is very much in keeping with that. You'd probably, if you like that, well, then you might like this. And then we're finishing things off with a few Marvel comics. And this is Edgar Riceborough's Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. A title that, well, I gotta say I never really got into because so much else to read, to be honest with you. But these have wonderful artwork, absolutely enticing covers. Kriega, Tarzan, kills. Apparently, Jane needs a new purse for Christmas, so sorry, kitty. You know how it goes. And then this one, The Fangs of Death, one of young Tarzan's greatest adventures as he faces Numa for the sake of a fallen she-ape. Ain't love grand, folks? And we're going to conclude this thrilling episode with some thrilling adventure stories. And Atlas, well, they didn't just put out comics. They dipped their toe in the magazines as well. Black and white style anthology magazines such as this were very popular in the 1970s, but this one, well, it didn't really have a chance, did it? Because Marvel was flooding the market. Warren was definitely on top, and then you had people like Myron Fass, filling in all the space at the bottom of the rack. So thrilling adventure stories kind of came and went, only lasted 2 issues, but what a ride. It's action, 7 great stories, 64 pages. So maybe we'll check this out in a future Comics for Breakfast. We can do that because this is an upgrade on my copy, so now I can bend my old one up in the scanner. Well, thank you so very much, Craig. This is just a wonderful treasure trove of comics that I'll be chipping away at for a good long time. And thank you for joining us on this very special episode of Having a Drink with Mink. Let's do it again sometime, shall we? It's been fun. From all of us to all of you, cheers.